welcome to another episode of Home Sweet Home. My name is Rod McCall.
And I'm Scott Nichols.
You sound excited over there.
Well, nobody could be as excited as you are. I gotta say, Bryce was always saying how ecstatic you were at the beginning of the show. You bring a level of excitement to it that I just, generally am unable to do, but I'm gonna try.
Well, that's kind of all a person is ever asked to do, just to try.
I do try.
I mean, my mom always said I tried the patience of a saint. It took me years to figure out what she was really trying to say with that.
Yeah.
But
I try often, and my tries don't always come out the way that they should. But I'll just keep trying.
And really, that's kind of all we can ever do, right? Is to try.
That's all I can ever do.
I mean, you try and try. I mean, there's that old adage, try and try again, and all that other stuff. If at first you don't succeed, try and try again.
Yeah, and mine is second. I don't succeed, I try again, and third, I try again. I just keep doing it. My whole life has been kind of that way. So.
Well, there's also that old adage, fake it till you make it.
Yeah,
and
I mean, sometimes you feel like that as an adult, right? You think like, what you wake up in the morning, you're like, wait a minute, I'm an adult today. I'm an adult. When did I become an adult? I thought, I feel like a kid sometimes.
But... Oh yes, my mind is screaming. You're late teens, early 20s, and your body says, yeah, wishful thinking, dumbass. I mean, when you got more creaks and cracks and bugs and all that.
Well, that's what I'm trying hard, but then you have to bend over for something
and tie your shoe and you go, damn.
It's time to sit down and rest up a bit.
No kidding.
So what do we got going on today?
Well, okay, so I've been sitting on something for a little while, and this is kind of more for me. I got a major assessment coming up that I've got to take for my schooling.
Ooh, love tests.
Not really. And I'm very nervous. And I've not been. This is my second attempt to take the test.
Okay.
And I'm going, I really need this to work. And I really need to go forward. And it got me thinking about, well, what happens? We all know about success, but what about failure? Mm-hmm. And so I'd run across this article a while back. And so I pulled it up and I was rereading it as a level of inspiration to push me forward. It also reminded me a lot of our kids that I deal with in the classroom all the time. As mm-hmm. Most of them are, I have to succeed. I have to be perfect. I have to be whatever. I can't get a failing grade. And so the article says, it's basically want to succeed. Here are 4 lessons to draw from failure.
Okay.
And so I'm thinking, okay, what a great way to remind ourselves that despite our best efforts, we don't always come out on top.
Well, that's true.
And I've known for many years, and I've heard it, and I have experienced it. So I absolutely and completely believe that you and I can learn way more from our failures than we can from our successes, especially if we want to try and learn.
Okay.
And so, because it's not about getting knocked down, it's about how you get back up.
So I have to want to learn. I have to want. When I get knocked down, I have to actually want to do that thing again that just knocked me down.
I look at kids and they love to play games. Okay. Especially video games. And your success the first time you play the game is rare. Mm-hmm. So what do? Do you never play the game again, or do you start it all over and try again? Whether it's playing, Super Mario Brothers, or some of my nephews, they love to play Minecraft, there's just all kinds of games you can play on your phones, on the PS4, 5, the Xbox, all that kind of stuff. There's tons of games. You're not mastering them the first time you play it.
Sure.
So in fact, it kind of reminds me of B.F. Skinner in the Skinner box, where we're going to give you just enough rewards to keep you playing. Kind of like, the slot machines at the casino.
Right.
So the idea is, what are we going to learn? Because we do learn. And so I thought, well, we could maybe explore this particular article. And the lady that wrote it, her name is Susan Fishman.
Okay.
And she's got a very interesting pedigree. She's a freelance writer, but she's got a background in counseling. She has worked in a clinical rehab position at a hospital. She's written for the Huffington Post, the Washington Post, parent websites, all kinds of stuff. So I felt like maybe this lady kind of has a clue.
But she doesn't seem to have a podcast.
I didn't go looking.
We have a podcast.
We have a podcast. So maybe
I don't do any of those other things. But we have a podcast.
Well, yes, we do.
She sounds like she's very well established and written on many topics. So.
Well, I thought so, and so because that's one of the things I look for in all these articles and all these things that I read, it's what's your credibility, what's your background, and why should I believe you? And she begins by saying, well, what is failure? And her explanation is failure by definition is a lack of success. It can be a result or simply an attempt that was unsuccessful. And sometimes, we can fail for a lot of different reasons. I'm a firm believer that prior planning prevents pretty poor performance.
You are. I hear that a lot.
Yeah.
Fortunately, you're not always talking to me.
Well, and so the other thing she says is that failures and successes often co-occur.
Okay.
And that most people usually don't have one without the other. And you can have a success, but why do you have a success? Well, usually there was a failure that led to it. And sometimes you can have a failure, but it's not a total epic fail. It's you failed a little bit, but you actually had some success as well. So you don't totally lose, but I don't know that you totally win.
So like when I'm at home and I'm on a diet and I got my Girl Scout cookies, which I did just get.
Did you?
I did.
They're out?
And I'm telling you what, I love the Thin Mints. But I'm on this diet.
Okay.
And then I get a little bit snacky. And so I pull out the Thin Mints, right? And I eat the Thin Mints up.
Okay.
And then, by the time the whole box is gone, I feel like I really failed on my diet, right?
Okay.
But I had a huge success in making myself, enjoy these things.
Well, the endorphins in your mind.
Right. But then it's like 10 minutes later, it's like, oh man, I just really didn't do that. And I still got 3 boxes in the fridge, right?
Okay.
So,
hey, you know what?
Do? I mean, what am I going to do? I mean,
well, switch diets. See, because I'm on the seafood diet.
So I could make my situation then easier, right? So that I'm less likely to fail.
You could, and since they come in sleeves, you could just do one sleeve. That way you have the success of, hey, I didn't eat the whole dang box.
So with 3 boxes left now, I have 6 opportunities to fail.
Or 6 opportunities to succeed because you're not eating, the whole box at one sitting.
But we probably don't want to just change our situation to an easier situation.
Well,
no. We want to learn from it and maybe have, in my case, I'd have a little bit more, restraint.
Okay.
From eating those things. I think that would be the lesson I would learn.
Well, and this is where she's saying that you need to fail because failure leads to growth. And you're simply stating, dang, I ate a whole freaking box of Thin Mints, which we can all relate to. Myself in particular, because, it's not just the Thin Mints, but it's also those shortbread trefoils.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, anyway.
I don't eat those, but yeah.
Okay.
I believe you.
Okay. So anyway, and she's actually talking about there is actually a perfect number as to what to fail. And her argument is she actually quoted from the Journal of Nature Communications when they, in a study they did, what's it say here, 2019, failure occurs on average 15% of the time.
Okay.
And so it's okay to fail. You're not going to succeed 100% of the time, but you're not going to fail 100% of the time. And so you can learn. I mean, some examples that I've used in the classroom, like, okay, when Jerry Seinfeld went out on stage the very first time, he got stage fright. He froze, and they booed him off the stage.
Imagine that.
I mean, Milton Hershey. All right. I am a huge Hershey fan. Of course, living in Pennsylvania and going down Hershey Park all the time. But he failed in his first 3 attempts at making candy or a successful candy company. And of course, one that I really love to use is about Thomas Edison and the fact that it took him 10,000 tries to make a light bulb. And when I was asked about it, he goes, well, look, I didn't fail 10,000 times. I just found 10,000 ways not to make a light bulb.
Sure. But of course, that's part of the scientific process, right? I've always told kids, in school, if you fail at your proving your hypothesis, that's not really a failure.
Mm-hmm.
That's just one success. That's not the way, and so you got to try another way.
Yeah, no, I'm totally with you. And sometimes that failure is just bad luck, bad timing. I mean,
Sure.
there's nothing you can do. Some
Like
of it,
like when I'm taking a left-hand turn through a yellow light and somebody smashes into me.
yeah, that would, bad timing.
Right, that could be some bad timing. I mean, obviously, I had a failure there.
Yeah.
I'll learn from that. But,
Yeah, don't run through the yellow light.
That's something that a lot of people do, and that's why we call them accidents.
Well, sure. And some of it can be a lack of preparation.
Mm-hmm.
Some of it can be us, and some of it can be things outside of our control. Sometimes our failures are because we gave up too quick. We didn't just stick with it just a little bit longer, just a little bit longer, just a little bit longer.
See, that makes me think of this quote that I love, and I've put it in the past at the top of my resume.
Okay.
And I have, it's on the outside of my classroom.
Okay.
On a poster right now, and that is from Winston Churchill.
Okay.
Major.
Sure. Yeah.
Too, who says that success is not final, failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts. Right. So it's not about either outcome, right, failing or success. It's about pushing on. Right. I mean, in the Bible, they talk about perseverance. And even in sports, they'll talk about perseverance. Right. It's about pushing on and continuing towards whatever your goal is, whether you have failures or not, and whatever you think your success is. It's probably going to change and grow. Right. It's going to become something different. If I want to be a millionaire, am I going to stop at $1 million?
No.
Or am I going to press on and get even more?
Well, yeah, if you can do $1 million, let's get 2.
Or maybe change to be a billionaire, right? Or if I want to buy a house, right? Maybe my first goal is to rent a house, and then I'm going to buy one, or maybe I'm going to buy a 2-bedroom house, but ultimately I want to have a 4-bedroom.
Sure.
Your success is going to change over time. And even your values, as they change over time, might change what that success looks like. But failure along the way is going to come, and that courage to continue, right? To continue to try and try again.
No, and I totally agree. And that's kind of where the author, Susan Fishman, is coming from. And she says there are some things that we can learn beyond what we've talked about. She says there's 4 very specific things or lessons that you can learn, and one of them is an improvement to your emotional intelligence, which they call the E, or your EQ. Wow, I'll get my tongue out of my teeth here. Your EQ.
Okay.
You can, all right, if you fail, you might feel a little guilt. All right. Dang it, I didn't do so well. All right. You might be nervous. God, do I got to try it again? All right. Might feel a little ashamed. Man. All right. So these are natural emotions, but the fact that you're feeling them is a sign of awareness. And so you're learning about yourself as you're experiencing these different kinds of emotions.
See, now this brings me back to what you said at the beginning, when you said you have a test that you have to take, and you're kind of nervous about that test. What is it that's making you kind of anxious or nervous about that test? Why does that test make you feel that way?
Well, one, I can't continue my schooling until I pass the test.
How many times can you take the test?
As many times as I need.
Oh, so you can just keep going until you actually succeed.
Yeah, at $150 a pop.
Well,
And it takes
always
weeks weeks in between to reschedule, and I can't take my next class. Anyway, yeah. But then there's also, as I've been practicing, I'm going, man, I don't feel like I remember any of this stuff. So I don't know. There's a lot of.
I imagine lots of students feel that way every day about things that I teach.
Oh, yes.
But the point is that it's not the end. Like that one time you take it isn't going to be the end. And sometimes we can let our emotions, like she's talking about, right, like get to us. And I think that leads us to more towards the failure than the success.
Well, absolutely. Absolutely. And I mean, and that's kind of, again, where she's talking about, you can feel these different emotions, all right, but it can also help you develop a sense of what she calls self-love, all right? The idea that helping you, maybe you have, I don't know that I have it for this, the tests I got to take, but maybe we have these unrealistic expectations that are setting us up in our mind that we have to achieve at this level. And so these are, well, I got to be perfect in everything I do.
Well, yeah, I think a lot of people think that.
Mm-hmm. And so, anyway, so she's saying that a benefit of failure is that it can help you feel a variety of emotions, but in doing so, that actually builds your emotional intelligence.
Okay.
So that brings us then to the second thing. And that one is humility. I have to say that being knocked down a peg or two does bring out a level of humility for me.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, there have been times where I think, oh, this is great. This is perfect. I can do no wrong. And then you get an epic fail, and it's kind of like, yeah, you're not all that in a bag of chips like you thought you were. I've had that happen with, interactions with kids, and I went overboard, and I thought I was way more than what I thought. Sure. And an administrator has had to come up and say, hey, listen here, knucklehead, you went too far.
I think that happens all the time as teachers, as parents, as in the relationships we're in marriage or otherwise. I mean, there's all kinds of. I have kind of an epic story from my own parenting.
Okay.
Abilities that's kind of epic in my own family, and my daughter listens to this, so she'll probably get a kick out of it. Right? But, when back many years ago, she was early high school, unloading the dishwasher, and for some reason, in my younger years, I felt like, I knew how to do it the best way. And so we had,
unloading the dishwasher.
Yeah, we had a major fight about how to unload the dishwasher.
Okay.
In my 50s now, this seems like the most ridiculous thing in the world, right? And
okay.
At the time, she's fighting with me, and then my wife gets in on it, and she's like, just let her do it the way she wants to do it. And in the end, I felt like an ass, right? and it's just an example of that humility. Like I really felt stupid at that point, right?
Sure.
And I knew I was wrong. And for some of that, I knew I was wrong, and I was still pushing, right? Because I wanted to win. I didn't want to have to learn from that situation. But ultimately, I did learn from it, and I continue to hear about it frequently because it's such an epic fail in my life. But now we laugh about it.
Sure.
So I'm sure that my daughter listening to this, she'll be laughing about that.
Well, so in the article, they say it can be cathartic to fail because it puts you in a humble position to be knocked down several rungs or even to the bottom of the ladder, kind of putting you back to a beginner mindset.
It's hard to be right all the time.
I would say I would know, but history has plenty of evidence.
You're just trying to play the humble card here.
No, far from it. But here's one of the things that I absolutely do agree, and it can build when Fishman is saying it can build resiliency. And I go absolutely, positively, 1000% agree. Because, I mean, there's so many things that I am not very good at. I mean, crying out loud, we take the podcast. All right. You take a listen to those first 2, 3, 4, 5 episodes, and they aren't that good. I'm not saying that they're good now,
Right.
but we're better now than what we were. And so I think that in anything that we do, when we fail, it gives you, the courage maybe to try again. I will tell you, I've told plenty of people, heck, I tell Sherry this all the time, that because the first marriage was so epic fail,
Mhm.
I mean, under the definition of fail, it says see me. And it has created, I've learned a lot. It did generate a lot of humility. Yes, a lot of negative emotions, but the resiliency to try again.
Yeah.
I got to say, Marriage 2.0 is a million times better than the first version of marriage. And so, being able to pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and try again
Yeah.
is something that I wish, I mean, a lot of our kids do know this,
Mhm.
but I think that is something that I'm noticing we don't have as much, at least in the dealing with the kids, as long as I've been dealing with them, it's harder and harder to get them to admit that it's okay to make a mistake. Let's fix our mistake. Let's learn from our mistake and let's move on.
Yeah, I think that with kids, it's even harder. Really, kids want the recognition of having a high grade or a big success on something. They tend to want that, and parents are looking for that,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe even just a little bit too much, right? Like maybe we should be expecting our kids to fail a little bit so that they can learn. But that's a hard concept, I think, even for parents. Like you want the best for your kid, and you think the best of them, and so this idea that they can and in fact should fail at some things, and by failure, I'm not saying that they're getting a 40% in their class. Obviously, that indicates a major issue. But if you get an 80 on a test, that's not bad. Right, that's okay, and being able to learn, well, what's the 20% that you didn't get right and why? I do test corrections for my students,
Okay.
and I have them do 3 things. They got to tell me why the answer they chose was wrong, why the new answer is correct, which goes along with most test. Study tools that you might see that they do that kind of thing. And then my third question is just, why did you get it wrong? Like what caused, was it studying? Did you not study enough? Is there a definition you didn't get? Some kind of vocabulary? Were you confused about something? Like, try to learn from that situation and see, how can I do better next time?
Sure.
On that topic, or even in that strategy. And I've had kids tell me they learn a whole lot from that. And it changes their scores in the future. And so, there's a whole bunch of learning that takes place there, not just content learning.
Sure, because it's self-reflection.
Right. But it becomes okay to fail.
Okay.
Because I have this opportunity to learn.
Sure.
Right. If you don't have the opportunity to learn, then failure is a big problem, right?
Because you aren't learning.
You have to have that opportunity to learn afterwards, right? Like my daughter, I mean, she continued to empty the dishwasher, right? And she did it her way, and that was great. And you know what? She wasn't the one who needed to learn something. It was me.
Well, she could come to our house and demonstrate a couple dozen times, because I'm a slow learner.
Yeah, I don't think she's. Maybe we should do a YouTube video or something at some point. Maybe we could do a comedy sketch on it.
Well, so to build on what you're saying, all right. In the article, there's a quote here from a lady by the name of Brene Brown, and she's a research professor down at the University of Houston. And she studies courage, vulnerability, shame, empathy, and talks about the importance of learning from failure at a young age. And so I'm going to read this quote. And it says, raising children who are hopeful and who have the courage to be vulnerable means stepping back and letting them experience disappointment, deal with conflict, learn how to assert themselves, and have the opportunity to fail. If we are always allowing our children into the arena, hushing the critics and assuring their victory, they'll never learn that they have the ability to dare greatly on their own.
Love it.
And we see that.
Teddy Roosevelt thing, by the way.
Yeah. Okay. Well, then perfect. I like Teddy Roosevelt too. I learned a lot about him by watching Blue Bloods, by the way. But I totally agree, and I see this mindset moving away here in public education.
Mm-hmm.
The idea that we can't let kids fail. And I'm going, this is the best place to allow them to fail. Let them fail, let them learn from their mistakes, teach them how to correct and move forward so that when they come into that same scenario again, well, here's another strategy you can try so that you're not constantly failing. And tell these parents.
That's the key. Like, I think that, when I was in high school, things weren't a whole lot different, but one of the differences I remember is I failed the test. That's it. You fail.
Yeah.
And we just move on. And something that I've experienced as a teacher now in education is you got to give the kid a chance to recover from that failure, to learn from it in some way. And so, like, I do that through the test corrections.
Right.
A lot of teachers do that. So they can earn some points back, but they also learn a process and something about themselves to say, okay, next time you take a test, any test, might not even be in my subject.
Uh-huh.
What are you going to do to try to be successful on that test? And I think that's key. Like, if somebody had done that with me in high school, I would have been a much better student, I think.
When I was in school, we didn't have weighted grades, though. And so it was all point value. And so you just learned, okay, I didn't study and I lost these points. This isn't going to cause me to fail, but I need to redouble my effort so that I can earn more points going forward on these remaining assignments.
You had a better system. In my school, we didn't have all of these computers. I couldn't look up my grades every day.
Oh, yeah.
And the teacher had a grade book, and I had to get some time with them to say, well, what are my grades?
Okay.
How's it all working out? And, it was really kind of unknown. And so for me, there was a lot of unknowns. I didn't know how to be successful beyond just studying my mind out, which I didn't want to do because I had other things I wanted to do.
Always.
And that's a life choice, obviously.
Sure.
Life's about choices. But I do think this empathy thing is huge, right? We're really good at sympathy often.
Yes.
We're not very good at empathy.
Well, and that's where, and I'm glad you brought up the fourth point here, because the typical response to failure is self-blame or an attempt to gain something positive from the experience. Well, with empathy, I think sympathy is, well, yes, I can sympathize with you, but empathy means I can feel your pain. I can understand because I've been there, done that. And I think that's something that not a lot of young people learn. And so when they become adults, and I'm seeing that when dealing with a number of adults, they don't have the empathy either. But again, it allows you to accept your setbacks by reminding yourself that life is messy and that there is literally no way that you and I can be perfect in everything that we do.
Right.
So,
That's true.
I mean, it's, I don't know. Life sucks. You're going to fail. All right. It's just important to learn, learn from our failure. And by trying and failing, at least you're trying and you're making steps forward. You can't have success if you don't try. And I think based on my experiences with all the things that I have failed at in life, at least you're trying.
Right.
and you're not sitting back being a bystander in life wondering, gee, why can't my life be better? Well, what are you doing to make your life better?
And this is where I think I keep coming back to this book by James Clear, The Atomic Habits, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And that's what, if you create some successes in your day by doing some small things that you can have success at, that makes you feel better for the day. And then when the failures hit, that you might not have as big of an emotional response to them.
Mm-hmm.
And you might, and as you do this more, obviously you feel more rational about it. And what can I do?
Sure.
Right. What can I do to fix that? And it's important to think about failures in your job, as a leader, as a parent, as a spouse, and not just dismiss them, but think, how can I be better? Right. Because then you're making yourself better for everybody else too. You're making life better for everyone.
I think asking for help,
Absolutely.
asking, well, hey, what can I do better? Again, you mentioned something before, and I totally agree. Self-reflection, going back. Sometimes self-reflection requires a little bit of help. Having somebody you can talk to, having, friends or coworkers, spouses. And if none of that works, well, you know what? There are a lot of professional counselors out there that are fantastic at helping you kind of figure stuff out and to kind of help you kind of better reevaluate so that way you can, again, learn from our mistakes, past failures, so that when a similar situation pops right up, you've got experience and you can go, you know what, this is what happened the last time. I've thought about it. I've talked about it. I've reflected on it. So now, instead of doing that, which we know didn't work so well last time, let's try this. So
Excellent. Well, I know I'm going to take this to heart and consider, some things that I do each day, and when my failures pop up, I'm going to be more careful to assess myself and see how I can do better.
Self-assessment can't go wrong.
But right now we are out of time, so
we are. Gosh.
We're going to do the right thing and bring this one to a close,
so we don't fail.
So I'm Scott.
I'm Rod.
See you next time.
Bye.